would go to like the beach with no board and just ask some random dude on the beach, like, hey, your board looks cool. It's fun. Give it a sec. We can restart that.
It's fine.
Byron and his loud voice. He does your lifestyle surfboard every day.
Here we are at Lifestyle Surf Shop. A big thanks to Craig and his team down here at Lifestyle for having us as part of this little podcast setup here.
Biggest legend in the game, Craig Paul.
Exactly. Henry Chomper, welcome.
That's Steve.
Lovely to see you here. It's been a long time coming, this conversation of ours, and I'm glad it's happening now at a time when there's a whole lot of cool new things happening within your life as well. So yeah, it couldn't have come at a better time. Before we carry on, I just want to say a massive thanks to my sponsor, Seasick Threads, best board bags in the world out of Australia. I mean, he's done board bags for like the big Lebowski. What's his name?
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And who else?
Where's the money, Lebowski?
That's Lebowski. And that's Henry's.
I've got my two children in the studio today.
Yes, they are beautifully behaved furry kids, and they are lying over there. We'll have to get them on camera just now.
Every now and then you might hear a bark. I apologize.
We'll just push them into... Yeah, so thanks to Seasick Threads and to my associates over at Wavescape. Let's kick off this podcast by saying Henry Chomper makes some of the most beautifully crafted surfboards in South Africa.
Thank you.
You really do.
Thanks.
I'm going to blow a lot of smoke up his bottom because it deserves to be blown. And we've got one of his boards over there. It's a pity it's not behind us. And I just have to do this because did you move that board? I'd strategically placed it. Right, now you see the blue board behind us. Now we can kick it off. So Henry, let's talk about young Henry. I mean, you're not exactly old Henry. We're not going to ask you your age unless you actually want to come out and just say it.
Still a baby, 26
Still a baby.
years old.
Wow. But because he's a lanky dude, he commands a lot of...
Yeah, I get away with it. I got a presence.
You've got presence. When he walks into the room, everyone's like, whoa, it's HC, Henry Chomper. Why do you shape such cool boards? What got you into surfing? Cape Town boy, born and bred.
Yeah. Okay, firstly, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Stoked to be here. Okay, long story short, I come from I was born and bred in Cape Town. I lived in the city bowl my entire life. I started longboard skateboarding.
Got you.
As a teenager.
Okay.
And did it kind of semi-professionally. Nothing is very professional in this country, as we know. So I was competing in the local races and then got picked up by a couple of sponsors from the States. And was very fortunate to be sent on Eurotour in 2015, or the European leg of the World Tour of skateboarding back then. I was SA champ in 2014, I think, and that kind of boosted me into going on the World Tour. It's all very informal. It sounds fun and jazz, but it's all like you pay your way. Sponsors kind of paid for races.
Gotcha.
It's not as glamorous as it sounds. Went to Europe, got our asses handed to us.
Skateboarding.
Longboarding,
skateboarding.
Yeah, racing skateboards.
Right, like Cape Town is quite famous for some of those big downhill.
Yeah, Red Bull, DHX.
Yeah, that's it.
All of that stuff.
So you were schooled in downhill racing in Cape Town.
We were very much second generation. First generation was Kent Lingerfeldt, Stuart Bradburn and those dudes.
Okay.
And we were the kind of youngsters. We came up during Board Hub's era, which is Mitch Blackburn, who owns Board Hub.
Yes.
Was Board Hub, and he started with kind of longboarding. And then we go into Europe, we got our asses handed to us. We were like big fish, small pond in South Africa, small fish, big pond in Europe.
Got you.
Came back from Eurotour and pretty much instantly injured myself one night being stupid skating at night on Halloween. I think it was 2015 Halloween.
Okay.
Ended up needing to get knee surgery. Got knee surgery. Kind of thought, maybe the risk-reward factor with downhill skateboarding has run its course. Let me try this thing, surfing. And before that, it's quite ironic, I was very much like anti-surfing.
Oh, really?
My whole motto was like, why would you surf something that isn't there all the time? You know, you have to wait for the waves to get good and the good conditions where like the road is always there. I can surf at any time of day.
Okay, that was your mantra.
Yeah, very silly, naive mantra. And because of kind of where I was in skateboarding, I was getting free stuff, free boards, free gear, which meant that I could kind of experiment a lot, and I really enjoyed riding different boards, riding different gear, trying different things out. And then I started surfing and was like, wow, stuff's, you know, you have to buy this stuff now.
Yeah.
So instead of buying my first surfboard, in the beginning I just would ask all my friends, can I ride your board, can I ride your board? Kind of kooky in the sense that I didn't realize that in surfing, people don't really give their boards out that much, especially to strangers. So I was kind of going to the beach without a board and walking up to people and being like, I like the look of your board, can I surf it? Luckily I got away with it sometimes, and I managed to surf quite a few boards before actually buying my first board. Then the first board I bought was a Voodoo.
I was going to ask you that.
Shout out Robbie, he was actually really cool in the beginning.
He's changed now.
Of my surfing and shaping thing. He was very helpful.
Good.
First factory I ever saw was Robbie's. Got a first board, and then when it came time to kind of, you know, you're eventually going to want to get a different board. Instead of buying a board from someone, I was like, why didn't I give it a shot?
Yeah.
So at the time I had a bunch of camera equipment because I used to make videos for when I was skateboarding. So I sold that video equipment and ended up buying, if I remember correctly, I think it was 12 blanks from Ross at Cool Dandy. And no other tools. Naively just bought blanks and thought, cool, I can make surfboards. Didn't think about resin, didn't think about cloth, didn't think about glass, and then was just like, I got 12 blanks, that's 12 boards.
Just gonna start shaping.
Yeah, that's where it started. Then picked up tools from here and there. The first flat that I moved to when I left home had a garage, converted that into a kind of makeshift shaping bay.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first board that I shaped was from a broken blank, because I didn't buy 12 brand new blanks. I kind of hustled with Ross to get as many blanks as I could.
Gotcha.
Got some broken blanks, some snap blanks, this and the other damaged stuff. And the first board that I shaped ever was a 410 ridiculous fish that turned out for Rob Tweedle. Rob Tweedle, a mate of mine that I went to school with, great surfer from Llandudno, ended up buying it. And actually taken it to Namibia, funny enough. So the first board I ever shaped landed up surfing Namibia. Don't know how it did, but it still exists somewhere out there. But it was a dog. You know, it was definitely a dog. And then it kind of grew from there, word of mouth. You know, this friend, that friend, the standard shaper thing.
Yeah.
I was studying at the time at Vega, doing creative brand communications.
We're talking sort of like 2019, 2020?
No, this is now 2016.
16, okay. Yeah, after your crash and
your knee surgery. So this is kind of, I took a gap year to go do the Euro tour, and then this was my first year in college.
Yeah.
College, Vega.
Yes,
learning. Yeah, learning everything.
Learning
So that's a funny story. Second year starts, first day of second year, they give us a color wheel to color in.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, this is nonsense. So I approached my parents at the time and I was like, listen, we got given a color wheel in second year. This is silly. The boards are kind of taking off, naive as well. If we pull out of college now, we can get 100% of the deposit back for that year. Can I pursue the surfboard thing? My parents were, blessings. They said you can, only for a year. You can try it out for a year. If it doesn't work for the year, you go back next year. And I ended up using that deposit as kind of a startup. So I bought all the tools that I needed. My stepfather's got a factory out in Montague Gardens, and he had a corner of the workshop that I turned into a makeshift thing.
The one that I visited at the time when.
No.
Okay, not that one. Different one.
This was in Montague Gardens. This was like.
I do apologize.
So the first thing was the garage in the flat, and then the second thing was essentially a garage at his company in Montague Gardens on their premises.
Gotcha.
And that's where it all kind of started. I dived, full head first, bought resin, bought cloth, and started shaping. I was very, very naive in the sense that I didn't know anyone in the industry. I didn't know how the industry worked. I was just stoked to make surfboards and give it a shot on my own. So I didn't even know that you could get Craig or someone to glass your board for you. So I
Yes.
thought I got to do it myself.
Yeah. Which was a blessing in disguise because you
100%.
learned from the ground up.
Learned from the ground up. I kind of messaged all of the guys that were the big players at the time. Can I come and play around in your factory? Sadly, which is something that I've dealt with now in the future, I've chatted to all the dudes. A lot of them turned me down. I totally understand why. You don't want some kid just running around the shop.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, really cool because instead of kind of learning from someone, I went through the trial and error myself and learned my own little techniques here and there. And yeah, it was a long and, you make a lot of dogs and mistakes and, mess up here and there. Resin is just a very tricky thing to master. Not that I've mastered it in any way, but it's a hard thing to do. But yeah, I learned all those over time, which is great because now I'm pretty stoked with where the glassing is and like how that all kind of came to play.
Yeah. So all the Bali shapers turned you down.
Yeah.
Like literally everyone.
Literally everyone, yeah. Except for Robbie.
Yes.
But even then, I didn't really kind of like. I was just there. I swept the floors a bit and shaped it out.
Because they didn't want you to steal with your eyes.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. It is kind of typical South African in everything. We're all pretty closed off and we think that we're doing our thing and that's our method and we don't want to give it up. Which is starting to change nowadays, which is cool to see.
Yes.
But, very different from what I was picking up from all the YouTube videos, seeing, in America, they have these glass houses where you can come and learn and do this. We had a very different kind of scene, especially at that time. It's changing now towards more of a inclusive, idea sharing industry.
If we dig down into that, if we may, like from a South African mentality and perspective, would you say that's due to part and parcel of our reserved upbringing as South Africans, going to government schools and that kind of authoritarian style of being brought up?
Also, just I think South Africans have a kind of get it done, do it yourself attitude, and that maybe translates into people's businesses where I'm sure that the guys that I asked for help didn't get help, and therefore they had the same feeling in the sense that this is now something I've curated over all of my life. This is my experience. Why am I going to give this away?
Yes.
I'm gonna guard this, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I totally understand now in hindsight. At the time, I was like, why didn't anyone help me? But now I'm like, totally. You guys had been, learning on your own as I was trying to do now. Why give up your secrets?
But are they secrets?
That's the thing. Not really.
Nah. If we're being realistic.
Yeah.
In this day and age, you can literally
find everything. So that's everything. The thing. I found everything on the internet.
You can ask ChatGPT AI to go out and look for. Now you can literally ask it to go out and find you 5 best shapes and get me all the dimensions, and it'll give it back to you within 10 minutes.
I knew that I always wanted to do the hand shape stuff, so I wasn't interested in finding files and that type of thing.
Yep.
But I watched every single video on YouTube. I messaged everyone on Instagram. International or local, and just kind of shot my shot, asked questions, and some people were very receiving, others were not so much, but that's how it was. And over time learned, and that's the long story short.
I think you, thanks for that. I think that one thing that you did do in terms of as an early starter, which was, whether you saw this gap in the market or not at the time. I mean, we think of the Ryan Lovelaces of the world and guys like that who were let's go rewind 10 years. There was not very many of those type shapers in South Africa and dialed into that style of shaping. And it's more than just about shaping. It's their way of life. It's their ethos in life. Their connection to
the shaper lifestyle definitely drew me in.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was very much at the time living the skater lifestyle, which was kind of similar. You lived what you did. But
you got drawn into a different shaper lifestyle. I'm trying to say that you were one of the first in South Africa.
On the alternative side.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Because a lot of our shapers are still and with no disrespect to any of them, they're still the archetypal 90s shapers.
Yeah, cookie cutter type of
listening to
shaper.
Suicidal tendencies.
Yeah,
shaping,
100%.
Which is great. We need that,
Yeah,
But
and that
you were
wasn't-
one of the first to kind of adopt that, like,
Yeah, and that was, I think about it, it wasn't really a thought out thing, but I just never really appealed to the performance side of surfing because I was no good at it, straight up.
honest
You know,
chap. This
I
honest
wanted to surf longboards because that's what I wanted to make longboards because that's what I was interested in surfing. I wanted to make fishes because everybody saw that rainbow Ryan Birch, psychic migrations video, and like that's what I wanted to do. That was the embodiment of, oh my god, let's drink beers with my mates and make boards overnight and go surf them the next day. So 100% dived into that full-on shaper lifestyle. I just want to make boards and go surf and
van life.
yeah,
crispy,
van life. Got
frosty
the van,
morning.
did it all.
Yeah. He's got the
Um,
van. He has got the van. A big bright.
Sold now, it's gone.
Oh, is it gone?
Yeah,
The
sold it.
orange bus is gone.
My whole life since then I'm attempting to make a 180. It worked really great with that big bright van for the beginning of the business.
journey,
It had branding and it drew attention. But now I'm trying to kind of maybe go a little bit more incognito.
Oh, right. You see. He likes to flip the script
Some
every
people-
5 years.
Some people call it growing up. I guess you could call it that.
I call it staying ahead of what everyone else is doing. Because I can
Yeah.
relate to that. And the minute everyone else is trying to do what you're doing, that's when you decide
Yeah.
to kind of like,
100%.
Go somewhere else.
That I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
I've always tried to be, different, if
Yes.
that's what you want to call it.
Yeah. well, that's cool.
But yeah.
And were you always like so fastidious with other things in life? Were you always fixated on? You kind of come across as a shaper who strives for perfection.
Yeah, I've always been a bit of a perfectionist, 100%.
Okay.
I did art at school and I was kind of finicky.
Yes.
A big thing...
Anal is a better word.
Yeah, anal is definitely a good word. A big thing to maybe note is that I always, used to watch like movies and see the kind of American dad in his garage, playing with the sun. With they're going to make something with wood or whatever in their little garage workshop, and I
Okay.
never had that. My biological father is a doctor, so he
Okay.
wasn't really also a tinkerer, and my stepfather was kind of a businessman, so he was at the office. So I never really had the kind of tools growing up, with my dad experience.
Okay.
So when
you
I
yearned after.
I
that.
yearned after that. When I moved into my first apartment and realized that there was a garage, like the first thing I was like, garage workshop. I didn't even know at that point that I wanted to do surfboards, but I was like, I want to get tools and I want to tinker in my my workshop. Yeah.
I know what you mean. I've been around his Henry's little shaping bay, and it's quite interesting actually. It's the first time I've encountered the type of shaping bay that Henry has got. I must say it's not only well. I'm going to get a little bit deeper, mind you. I'd just come back from the Maish factory in KwaZulu Natal, and they're like a polar opposite to you in that they live on this old compound, this farm, and there's these old resin bins lying all over the place from like 20 years ago, and but it's their vibe, and they within the chaos they create their
100%.
poetry. Henry, on the other hand, is beautifully curated shaping bay. The colors that he uses. I mean, I really resonate with a lot of how you do it. And on all of his tools, he's got little messages like, "This is Henry's. If you touch it, I will shock you," or something.
That was because also, so that kind of takes me to another thing I would dig to discuss.
Yes.
Kind of drawing back to the secret of South African thing.
Yeah.
So once the boards kind of took off, we had a family-owned building in Woodstock
Okay.
that my stepfather then agreed to kind of build a purpose-built factory into.
This is the one I visited.
Yeah, this way you visited, and that was a blessing, And at that point, I'd met Hugh Cox from Keeper Surfboards, and we kind of met each other, and both of our shapings went like, we were two dudes on the same wavelength, and we were just like exploded with froth and what are we gonna do?
Energy.
Yeah, and we had this factory built for us, which was incredible. But then it was like, cool, now you're sharing a factory, and it very quickly, you realize like, oh, there's a certain way we each like to do things. And that's kind of where marking my tools were. It was like, don't touch my tools because I'm very much like a clean mind, or, if the brain's messy, the work's messy. So if my space was kind of messed up, it would affect my work day, for example. So I'm trying to I would try and have everything in its place. I love for things to have its place.
Okay.
And that's just my OCD kind
I
of
should
kicking
imagine
in.
you're a minimalist as well. You have.
To some degree, I'm also a hoarder, but I got that from
okay.
my mom, which is
Okay.
quite ironic. I struggle to get rid of things. Like
Right.
there was corners of that factory that had, resin buildup from like
Yes.
3 years previous that at some point I was going to make something with and I was not going to throw it away, but it never
Okay.
happened. So that kind of weird hoardy
It's
vibe, but it still
somewhere
needed
down
to be
there.
clean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you do you prefer plastic or real plants?
I prefer real plants for sure.
Okay. 'Cause I was just going to say,
I know, it is
the
plastic.
nice thing about the plastic plant is everyone comes out perfect.
Yeah.
And there must be something in that though.
Yeah, to some degree.
I'm just making small talk now. Okay, so going back to the factory in Woodstock that I visited, it was a really cool space because there was yourself, there was Hugh from Keeper, there was the young dude from Jack Dower, who has really come of age. I mean, I looked at some of his shapes at the recent board swap. Really, really understated, underrated young man, up and coming. He's also trying the whole underground vibe.
Swindell came through with us as well.
Swindell came through the Good For You Finco.
Yeah, Good For You Finco. That's a fun story to tell, actually.
Okay, tell us about Good For You Finco. What's his name again?
Matt.
Matt, that's it.
So I owe a lot to Matt
Okay.
in the sense that because I wasn't a great surfer,
Okay.
it took quite a lot for me to legitimize my boards. Matt was a really good kind of young competitive grum in Komaki, the shortboard thruster world.
Okay.
And he kind of had a shift in the sense that he was done kind of surfing thrusters and he wanted to try different things. So we were always friendly. We had similar friend groups and we knew of each other, but we weren't tight, so to say. And then Matt kind of messaged me one day when Chomper was kind of taking off and he was like, he full on propositioned me.
Yes.
He was like, you need someone to surf your boards. Let me be that person. Sneakily trying to get free boards. Totally knew what he was doing, but it was a win-win.
Yes.
And that totally worked. I told him I'm not going to give them to you for free. Like, come sand them.
Yes.
So I made him boards. He sanded them in the beginning, and our friendship kind of blossomed through that whole process. And then when lockdown hit, we actually stayed at the factory in Woodstock for the 3 weeks. And I kind of said to Matt, hey, dude, do you want to stay with me for those 3 weeks? 3 weeks then turned into 5 weeks. And at some point in that time, I was making boards and Matt was helping me sand them and he was kind of learning the processes but he was like, teach me to make fins, let me do something.
Okay.
So during lockdown, I taught him to make fins and, the rest is history with that. He's now making really, really beautiful stuff. He is super intricate with his hands as well. Like, from someone that I don't think he even realized he was into making things. He dove straight in and he's really produced some great stuff.
Yeah, really beautiful fins. All the links for all, Henry's mates and his journey will be down below, so you can find all those links. And at some point, I'd hope to interview Matt and also Mr. Young Jack Dower. But great. You had a little zodiac of cool.
Yeah, so I was trying to do what I saw in the American and Australian thing, have like this kind of collective house for everyone to work under.
Yes.
And it worked really well. We all of our abilities to make stuff increased because we were working off each other. We were bouncing ideas. We were, one person had to mess up for all of us to learn, which was great.
And you had a spirit of collaboration.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was so much fun. We were all surfing together and it was a big vibe with your mates. It felt like
it was. I visited there. It was like going back to summer camp, and everyone was just having fun.
It didn't feel like work at all.
Yeah, it felt strange for me at first, and I must say it felt weird. But I soon got to understand why it was that way. And you were bucking the trend, and I think that was the barrier in me because I've been brought up in a very South African way as well. And once you overcome that barrier and understand that collaboration is the way forward, and I think COVID has accelerated that mindset. But you were doing it pre-COVID. And so imagine this, loads of shapers under one roof, talking to each other, sharing ideas, having a laugh, sharing tools to a degree, as long as it's not Henry's tools.
Well, as long as you put it back, it's cool.
As long as
Just
you put it back.
Yeah.
You had this amazing vacuum cleaner, the shaping bay, there was no dust. It was just dustless. Had the vacuum cleaner connected. It was a cool spot. We might even have some pictures that will just flash up.
Yeah, 100%. I've got some stuff I can send you.
Awesome, good stuff. And now you're a Jack Black's ambassador, best beer in Cape Town.
Shout out Ross and Meg.
Ross and Meg, amazing humans who look to people in the community.
Shout out Rob McCulloch as well.
Rob McCulloch, to you as well, and to Tristan.
Yes.
The whole team at Jack Black's are really, really rad, and they do a lot for us at Wavescape and likewise. And it's so cool that you're one of their ambassadors, and they take people in the community and they go, hey, like, we dig what you do. How can we support you? Obviously, give you lots of beer.
Very nice.
And then all you got to do is live the life and enjoy it and work hard, have a good hard surf, have a good hard skate, and then you reward yourself. It's a reward with an ice cold Jack Black's.
The grapefruit radler.
Okay, so is that your favorite?
Hands down.
I must say I got a bit of an affinity with that cherry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's.
I've seen a couple of people are moving.
It reminds
on
me
to
of
the
those. You used to buy those strips of suckers, and they were like flat.
Oh yes,
and
yes,
pink.
100%, exactly.
That flavor.
It also tastes like a kind of
Fizz pop.
a fizzer. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? What is your affiliate? Other than being an ambassador, what does that
With
mean?
Jack Black.
Yeah. What does that actually mean? Besides drinking their beer.
So I'm under no illusions. I have massive imposter syndrome about that whole situation.
Right.
Because I don't do much, but I get a lot from them. So thank you guys. But I'm working to change that. But they, I guess, want to be affiliated with people that they feel are doing cool things. And,
Okay.
I'm really stoked that they feel that I'm that person. But yeah, I met Rob through my girlfriend Callan, and me and Rob got along well. And Rob at that point was, I guess, like team manager / business. He was a big part of the business.
Yeah.
He's now no longer with them. He's moved on. But yeah, and he kind of pulled me in. I met Ross and Meg, and they were great. Invited me in, and yeah, it was super cool to be part of the team. I just discovered fitness at that point in my life. So I started running and cycling, and Jack Black are very much aligned with that whole lifestyle, a fit, active lifestyle. And now I seemed to fit the bill for what
I
they
don't
were
think
looking for.
I mean, I'm, I'd love to, but the only thing that I'm good at is moving my elbow up and down, up to my mouth. I need to lose a bit of this.
No,
That's cool.
I've got youth on my side again.
Steady now.
In that degree.
Steady now. Don't get cheeky. 26. I'm just working out whether you could be my son. I'm nearly 48. So I mean, yeah, could have been my son. My wife at that point would have had to have been a very tall young lady.
Well, the milkman, as my dad likes to say.
And now this new little this new little project that I saw via one of your feeds, come build your own surfboard. What is that all about?
Yeah, it's something that I'm working towards offering. I'm trying to figure out how to do it.
Right. See, that's what you call an entrepreneur. He puts something out there on Instagram. It says, "Come build your own surfboard," and then he says, "I'm still working out."
I am. I know. I do things backwards.
Jump off a plane and build what? Jump off a cliff and build an airplane on the way down.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
There we go. Easy to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
So much we can say.
So I'm just constantly trying to figure out how to reinvent how I make surfboards, because to everyone out there, it's not an easy thing to do. It looks very glamorous from the outside, but most shapers will tell you it's a dusty, dirty, gritty type of job, and it does still become a job.
10,000 hours.
It's fabulous
expert,
and lovely,
right?
exactly. And we've still got many thousands of hours to do. But I'm just trying to figure out how to best do it so that I don't lose my love and passion for making it. I went through, a period recently of not even surfing for 9 months.
Okay.
I just peeled off. I was completely blown out and over. I don't want to look at a surfboard, but I was forced to do it because it was my only income, and it is my only income. So just doing that type of thing, life is, we're all growing up. I'm growing up. I'm learning how to actually do things and how
Thanks
to
for
live
being so
life.
vulnerable.
It's something I would actually like to touch on.
Yeah.
I full on had what you would call a quarter life crisis. I just,
like
you
a
know,
breakdown.
yeah,
Like
100%. I just, yeah,
like
we're all growing
breakdown.
up. Emotionally was just, you know, I was blown out with work, some personal stuff, you know, here and there with other things, relationships, family, you know, everyone goes through their stuff. And I actually had to put a halt, you know, I paid people's deposits back.
Oh, really?
I took a full-on break because I was just, you know, there was too much going on for what I could handle at that point.
Yeah.
But it was all necessary. And yeah, now I'm just trying to reinvent how I do Chomper Surfcraft and make it work for myself that I don't get to that point again.
Yeah.
So I feel like this Board Your Own Board workshop could be cool in that sense because I really enjoy, I don't want to say teaching, but showing. You know, it's the same reason we had the factory and we're so amped to have guys there. Like, it's boring to do something on your own.
Yeah.
So, you know, when the boys came in and we could show them what we were good at and they could show me what they were good at and we could learn from that, that's great. So if I can pass that on to someone who's interested in seeing it, really cool. And there's a lot of people that are interested in building their own board, I guess. And a big thing that we were always trying to do and still are is educate the masses on what it takes to make a board, in an attempt to kind of allow people to realize why boards are priced at what they are. We're very fortunate in this country that across the board we're paying too little for surfboards. Surfboards should be more expensive. Materials are increasing, inflation, blah, 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 and the price of surfboards has not met that inflation rate in the slightest.
So let's dig down into that. Henry is saying that we're not paying enough for surfboards, and I get what he's saying because, you know, we just apply the old analogy, you get what you pay for. And with Henry's boards, there's a lot of love, care, and attention that goes into making a craft that he doesn't make disposable boards. He makes boards that I dare say you're going to want to keep for a very long time.
I've always tried to say firstly, surfboards, in my opinion, are not eco-friendly in any way. There's no such thing as an eco-surfboard.
Yes.
But my ecological standpoint is that I'm going to try and make you a board that lasts long.
That you can hand down.
Hand down, hopefully. And with that comes, you know, a need to use the best materials possible, and with that comes higher prices.
Sure.
So it's kind of just trying to get the local market to understand that we should be paying a little bit more for the boards that we are getting, and this is why.
Yeah. Well, again, we go back to surfboards that were made, 50 years ago, whatever. You bought one board and you had that board for a very, very, very long time, and it lasted you.
We have a disposable lifestyle now.
Yeah,
it kind of
exactly.
filters into boards.
I mean, we had one of the old retro boards fall out of the rack at the board swap meeting the other day. It literally bounced back up, and there was hardly a scratch on the rail. If you do that to a lot of new boards these days, you're looking for ding repairs. Sorry, Robbie. I know that's your business, but
bring the ding.
Yeah, bring the ding. So how much percentage-wise of the board is shipped in internationally? Like 60% of the board, 70% of the materials come from overseas, would you say?
So we're using, I try and use the best of what is available locally.
Okay.
We were recently, in the last kind of 2 years now, I guess we'd say, with Shaper X, we had access to US blanks. But unfortunately, might be a little bit touchy, but I feel that they're a little bit too expensive for our local market. There's not enough margins on them. I guess, I know that for me, it's genuinely about 40 to 50% of the cost of the board is going to material.
Okay.
And that's without labor. So then you factoring in labor, your pure profit margin is not great on the board.
Sure. And you're spending a lot of hours in the bay, as you say, putting in a lot more love and care.
And especially as I am a one-man show. I have mostly been a one-man show. I've had people here and there that I've tried to teach, or bring on to make my boards for me. But I've also realized that the reason I've even survived in this industry is because, I am the only one doing it on my boards, and therefore I can guarantee that quality. And I can't afford for the quality to go down because I don't think I would survive in that. So it's a tricky one, being a one-man show, because, if I go on holiday, I'm not making an income, for example. But we're working away. Like I said, I'm constantly trying to think of ways that I can make this work for me, because I really do. We love making surfboards. I love. And
you don't want to have that emotional burnout again, and you don't want to. You don't want to start disliking the very thing that you fell in love with in any way whatsoever. So it's good that you've identified that and doing your best to address that. How many boards are you hoping to kind of make a year?
Sure, I haven't even like had that number. You know,
Okay.
at the moment I'm making 2 to 3 a week
Okay.
if I'm lucky.
Yes.
Because again, I've moved out of that Woodstock big factory now.
Where are you now?
To Hart Bay. I'm
Okay.
working from home. Got like a home setup, a garage, and another room, and.
Okay.
So my capability for production is low. I can only make X amount per week,
Yes.
which is the biggest blessing in disguise. Because with that whole, the Woodstock factory, it was amazing. We had that great collab space, but I felt like I ended up running a factory and not making boards, which was the last thing I wanted to do. So when COVID hit, that building sold. We were obviously at the time very sad, and what are we all doing? The boys all kind of separated. It was very sad in that sense, but it was
The end of a chapter.
The end of a chapter. But I feel the greatest thing that could have happened, because it allowed me to almost regress back into the backyard shaper thing, which is actually where I'm happiest and where I want to be.
Cool.
So yeah, now it's.
Wow. It sounds like you've already had quite a few chapters in the Chomper history.
It is funny because it's only 6-7 years now, and they have been like
I'm gonna call this one Chomper's Chapters.
Chomper's chapters. I like
We're
that.
on chapter
Chapter 3 now.
Chapter
four,
3
yeah.
or 4. Many more to come in this book. That is Henry. So keep an eye out. That's cool. Hart Bay. Yeah, that's where we're staying actually, in Hart Bay.
I do love the saying, "Change is as good as a holiday."
Yes.
So that kind of fits in with that.
Change is the only. It's the only consistent thing in life is change.
And
It
I
really
mean,
is.
personally, this is now again on a little maybe deeper personal level.
Yes.
I was very much like in this illusion growing up that, I always used to say, as opposed to they used to say, I just want to be consistent. My biggest thing was consistency. And now I realized, like, what a silly thing to say. You are going to change, the world is going to change. How you adapt is actually the best thing to that change. So,
Yeah.
it's funny. We all grow up, and I'm growing up, and I'm learning, and I'm under no illusions. I'm so far from perfect. Like, just trying to get through life, not make enemies, do what I love, which is making surfboards. And
Cool vibes.
That's
Just
the vibe.
cool vibes all around. Yeah, that's it. It's the energy that you put out, and I think that sometimes there's that, especially within the surfing world and the more competitive performance surfing world, there's energy, and there's like you almost got to have that like aggression. I'm not talking about aggression towards one another, but that you want that
passion.
that grit and that passion, exactly that. But always with good vibes. Remember that. I think that's important. And in terms of like surfing, you got any trips planned? Are you staying local?
So I've literally just, like I said, I had a 9-month stint away from surfing, and then I surfed again, and then I had another 3-month stint, and that was now. I just broke that 3-month stint again from surfing. Also,
Awesome.
side note, I found bicycles, and bicycles took over my life.
Oh wow.
They're a lovely, great, amazing thing to do, but they are addicting to the 10th degree.
Yeah.
So now I am once again revisiting the whole idea of balance, and
Okay.
I'm surfing again finally, which is great. I'm loving surfing again. For a
Cycling
while,
less.
cycling less, doing other things less, just balancing everything out.
What, like road cycling?
Road cycling and gravel cycling,
Okay.
gravel bikes.
Trails.
Yeah, like really cool. It was a cool, a side of my life that was really fun. I'm still in it, but I'm not going to be as heavily into it as I was maybe.
Yeah.
My personality is quite addictive in the sense that, like, if I choose to do something, I
Okay.
generally
You
dive
go
head
all
first and go all out.
Okay.
Which is something I'm learning to navigate.
It's
But
good
yeah.
that you can be so candid about it. It really is. It's refreshing that you, as vulnerable as you are. It's also refreshing that Henry's actually a really friendly guy. In the beginning, he came across to me as quite. I think it's also again because of your height.
So it's
like
something
this-
that's great to touch on.
it's this
People
an-
find
an
me intimidating.
aloofness.
Yeah.
It's this aloofness,
Oh, do I come off a bit nonchalant?
you used to. To me, anyway, I thought you were.
No,
quite,
it's good to know.
You were quite aloof, not in a negative way, just in a very sort of like I am me and I stand for this and that sort of thing. And it wasn't in a sort of horrible way.
No, but it's true, dude. I fall prey to that. Like, I'm fully aware of the fact
Yeah.
that, like, I can come off a certain way.
But actually, you can go up to Henry and just pat him on the back and say, "Hey,
Yeah, please.
great
Also-
surfboards. Keep doing what you're doing."
Or give me nonsense. Give me You know, critique. I love critique. Critique's a good thing. I used to struggle with taking critique. I've totally learned, like, you have to take critique to do things. But I think a lot of that comes from, you know, as silly as it may sound, from literally physical appearance. Like, people find me intimidating. I've heard that a lot. People have told me that a lot. I'm a proper goofball. I'm a laugh. Like, come up to me, give me shit, say hi, please. Like, I have a can I?
Yeah.
I have a resting bitch face.
Okay.
I've been told. So
Hey,
I might
what?
look like resting bitch face. So I might look like I'm in my own world or grumpy. It's not the case. I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person, I like to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig chats.
The real Henry Chomper, not the guy that you thought you knew in the orange bus driving around.
But also, again, not perfect. You know, we've all done things we're not stoked with, and that's just life, I guess.
Exactly, it is. And we just got to move on, move forward, refocus. The
I'm going to take the opportunity. One of the biggest things that, like, it irks me, you know, in that period of me kind of overworking myself and getting into that emotional, like, drag, you know, like I said, I paid people's deposits back, and, you know, I made a couple of boards at that time that I just wasn't 100% stoked on, or you know, 100% in, and, you know, pissed off maybe one or two customers, and, like, they know who they are. I apologize. We've worked through it now, but I'll take the opportunity again to just be like, yeah, I wasn't at my best, and they all know I was very honest with them. But yeah, it's a learning experience.
Off your chest.
Yeah.
It's gone now.
It's good to be off my chest.
It's good. Get it off, and and I'm sure that apology is accepted, because it takes a bigger man to say sorry than to not.
I think, we all, as we grow up, we all just realize we're all doing this for the first time, so nobody actually knows what's going on.
Exactly. Henry,
doing our best.
An absolute pleasure, bro. Is that it?
Is that it?
Is that it? Is there anything else you want to say?
No. Is there anything else you want to ask?
No, I think that's it. Are you a herbivore, carnivore? Do you eat both? Are you vegan? Are you vegetarian?
I mean, I dabbled with vegetarianism, but I'm still at that phase again, back to the youth. I eat what I want.
Okay, cool.
One day this flip's going to switch.
Yeah.
Switch is going to flip, I know it, and I'm going to have to focus a bit more.
Yeah. Chapters.
Yeah, luckily my girlfriend eats extremely healthily, and she's got me on a way healthy.
Okay, I'm glad you touched on that. He's not on the market. He's got a girlfriend. All right, so just calm yourself.
Very happy relationship with an amazing woman.
He's one of the better looking young guests I've had on the show. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I'm the one who has to deal with all the mail and all the messages saying who's Henry.
All the mail messages.
Well, yeah, mail messages. So yes, Henry is taken, unfortunately for you. Remember, the key things out of this conversation are that Henry's actually a really nice guy. 2, start paying more for your surfboards and understanding that you
or not even, just appreciate your shaper or where you buy a board from. And a big thing, let's try get rid of the bro deal in surfing.
Yeah,
we're already, I promise you, a lot of the dudes, especially locally, are purposely trying to keep their prices as low as possible in order to make sales, just to enter the market. Yeah. So asking for that base or that discount is kind of just, you're literally taking money out of that dude's pocket, especially if it's on the smaller scale like me and the other guys that are doing, their own solo thing. You're kind of essentially taking their income out when it's not necessary. People spend money on other things without even thinking of asking for a discount, and I think the whole mantra around the whole surfboard bro deal needs to change. And I think a lot of the people that I have conversations with around that agree. It just needs to be kind of said more.
There we go. No more bro deals. You go into Woolies, you pick up the bag of oranges. You don't go to the cashier and say, "Hey, can I get a 10 Rand discount because I'm a pro orange man?"
And like, it's going through so many hands and processes, and if you look at what people are paying for, I know, for example, being involved with bikes, like, people pay silly money for bikes.
Yeah.
Bicycles.
Oh, crazy. Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, literally hundreds of thousands of rands, no questions asked, because they know what they're getting is quality, because it comes from some big manufacturer.
Yes.
And we're all trying to reach that level of legitimization, in the sense that you are happy to pay what you want for what you're getting. And I hope that I'm working there, and I feel like I'm getting there. But like, people don't complain about other things, and I don't think that you should be complaining about surfboards. Pay what you think is fair, and if you don't think you're getting a fair deal, open that conversation, but don't try wiggle people on their prices, if possible.
And on that bombshell, we'll end it. Henry Chomper, Absolute pleasure. All the links for Henry are down below. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Shredding the Gnar. Henry Chomper,
Thanks for
Chomper
having me.
Surfboards. Support this man.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Steve.
brother.
Shred.